Penny, because of you, I have to curse so many little kids out. No, seriously, because the reason why is they ask me all the time. They say, who's better, Penny or Kobe? And I always say Penny was Kobe before Kobe. And the kids before this social media era, they act like they don't understand what I'm telling them. Then I have to tell them, do you have Google, you little stupid? Look and see who Penny was. And remember, Penny came in day one like this. Kobe first year didn't start. Second year didn't start. Third year upstairs saying, okay, hey, it's time for him to play. Then he started, took him 600 to 900 days to become the Black Mama. Penny came in Penny. When I met Penny Hardaway before he was on my team, he was Penny. He was a shiny brand. So I have to explain that to them all the time. So I always want to give you your love. I'm always going to give you your props. I'm always going to remind these little dumb kids what greatness is all about. And I appreciate you, brother. And again, if I was to you any time in my career, I apologize. I'm older now. I can reflect. Like I said, when you first came on, it was crazy. I was sitting back thinking about, okay, what am I going to ask Penny? What do people want to hear? And then I realized, like, bro, we never had a fight. We never had an argument. The other guy, every day. Once he became that Black Mamba, every day. D Wade, our relationship was just like yours. Then towards the end, I'm like, hey, man, you want to be the man? Okay, do something. Like we had that one argument after we got blown out in game 2 because they looking at me to do it. I'm like, bro, I'm getting quadruple team. I ain't Shaq no more. You do something, D Wade. And he took off. So me and D Wade, one argument. Me and you, no argument. Me and the other guy.
I have heard Shaq tell the story of seeing you on the set of Blue Chips, talking to you. Then the draft happens and saying you got to trade C-Web to get Penny and all this stuff. I've always wondered what it was like from your perspective, where you meet this guy and then he starts moving all these chess pieces to get you. What was it like for you?
Well, here's the thing with me. I was extremely smart when I knew I was on the movie with Blue Chips because I knew Shaq was the most dominant person in the league, and to me. And I wanted to play with him really badly because I knew he would make my life easy. So when I was going to Blue Chips, I knew that I was going to get him the ball. It's just the same thing that happened when I was in the league. The late, great Pete Newell and I had a conversation, and I told him every time Shaq looks up, every time his head raises, every time his hand is up, that ball is going to be hitting his hands every single time because I want him to know this is exactly how I would do it in the league. And William Friedkin, who was our director, he allowed us to play real basketball. We didn't do any acting until the very last part when I threw Shaq the lob. So it was real basketball every day, and there were real basketball minds around. And, man, I was just diming him every time. And you know what he's going to do when he's getting the ball in scoring position? He's scoring it every time. So he looked at that situation. I mean, no knock on Chris Webber. We both love Chris Webber, respect Chris Webber. But that the guard big combination was better than the big combination. And I definitely auditioned not only for the movie, but for him.
Do you remember any acting tips that he gave you back then, since he had already kind of done some stuff?
No, we're not gonna go that far. No acting tips.
And you know the great thing about that story, Adam, is D Scott would always tell me, man, you gotta start taking over because I'm the kid. Whatever the coach says, you do it, right? Our team was not even close to being built for a championship. D Scott was like, man, you got to take over now. So he would always say, you got to take over. And I wouldn't say I was shy, but I was always respectful. And then I'm playing with Penny, and like 2 or 3 days in, I'm like, yo, man, who's this actor? I'm like, yo, man, who the fuck is this actor? Throwing the ball to me too much, but he nice, like, can play. And they say, yo, man, that's Penny Hardaway. And I'm like, who? Then they went back and showed me his tape. I was like, oh, he's a college player? They say, yeah, he put his name in the draft. They say he can go top 3. So now I said, okay, now D. Scott telling me, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. I said, I'm going to try it. I'm going to just try it. I picked up the phone, and I was terrified. I was like, listen, John, I'm playing with this guy, Penny Hardaway. You heard of him? Yeah, I heard of him, but we're going to go with C-Web. I said, I don't think you should do that. I think you should go with him. Huh? I said, listen, if you don't pick this guy here with my deal up, I'm going to be looking somewhere else. And I hung up the phone. Like, I didn't want to do it because I'm not that guy. I like to let my agent handle that. So now I'm at home. Movie's over. I'm at home. And they didn't do it. So now I was like, D. Scott set me up. Don't worry, I'm tearing my house up, busting mirrors. You know, Penny, you remember that, little back little
Yeah,
pool
yeah,
house I
yeah.
had? I'm busting out windows. I'm mad. And then they did it, and I was like, oh my God, it worked. Because the way he was diming me up, I was thinking new Magic Johnson and new Kareem. Because listen, I've never had a guy that size. I always had the little guys dime me up, but this kid was 6'9". And Adam, when I'm telling you he threw the ball at me every time, he actually gave me confidence to be like, okay, go ahead and score. Because I'm used to, pick and roll, okay, now you score. Playing with him, it's like, no, score. Score again. Score again. Score. So I know a lot of people know I put barbecue sauce on that story, but this is the true story. I didn't know who Penny was. I thought he was an actor. And I asked some dude, and he looked at me. He said, man, that's Penny Hardaway. I'm like, who? He's like, man, he played. I'm like, oh, so he's a real player. He's like, yeah. I said, well, I got to get him on the squad.
Yeah, and from my side, it was basically it was a setup for me. I was like, if I don't do it now, it's never going to happen. And I really wanted to be in Orlando with Shaq, so that's how it worked out.
So one thing that cracks me up about Shaq all the time is we'll be doing TV and he'll say, "This is unacceptable. All you need to do is average 8 points a quarter and you get 32 points, and that's how you become great." And I've always laughed because it has always seemed so easy in Shaq's brain because he's Shaq.
Yeah.
I was curious as like the running mate, did what was it like to be teammates with someone that really could do whatever they wanted out there? How would you embrace that? And then also, what did you have to deal with somebody like that?
No, so for me, that was his mentality to get 8 a quarter, and I was feeding him, but he had to go to the bench. When he went to the bench, I got my 6 per quarter. That was my number. When he went to the bench, I got my 6 per quarter. There was no way you weren't stopping me from getting 6 per quarter. So, and you got to do it in multiple ways. If you're just a shot attempt guy, I went to the offensive glass, I called lobs, I shot threes, I got to the foul line, I posted up, I scored multiple ways. So when you do that, it's easy to get 6. It's easy to get 8. But when you're just a shooter and you're relying on a jump shot every time, it's hard to get 6 and 8 a quarter unless you're just so efficient like Steph and Clay and those guys.
Mm. Do you ever have a moment where you were out with Shaq and Shaq put the big bear claw on you and was like, "You got to get out of here"? Like he kind of was like the guardian angel that got you out of trouble.
No, we really never really got in any trouble, man. We were like the cool kids, man. I ain't gonna even lie to you. We were the cool kids, and back then everybody loved us. So everywhere we get, it was a frenzy. Everywhere we went, it was like a frenzy. And that's you asked me the question earlier.
Mm.
Just playing with Shaq was like the traveling Beatles, man. Everywhere we went, it was packed everywhere. So at the end of the day, I enjoyed it because, again, I was in the moment. I took all of it in because I knew that this was special what we had with every arena, every hotel, outside of the hotels, inside. It was always packed, and wherever we went, people screaming, people chasing, people wanting to get a picture or an autograph. So I understood what that was about.
Retrospect question, and it's I'm sure a lot of people come up to you, Penny, and they're like, "Man, could you imagine if you didn't get hurt?" And you're like, "Okay, I've dealt with this so many
Yeah.
times." But when you're with somebody like, let's say, Grant Hill, and you guys both kind of get talked about that way,
Yeah.
what kind of communication can you guys have that people like myself will never understand?
You know what happens when me and G are together? We just talk about the good times. We don't even talk about the injuries. We talk about how fun it was dominating the game, how great it was to be able to play the game and be afforded that, and be blessed enough for that. That's all G and I talk about, families and about the great times. We've never talked about, man, what if, because that's already understood. You know what I mean? That's already understood between us. Like, we know where we were if we don't get injured. And I agree with Shaq. Everybody wants to put this label on me. Well, he would have been this. Man, I dominated the game for a
Right.
minute. I mean, long enough, I dominated the game. And anybody that said
Hell
I
yeah.
didn't, it is what it is. But G and I already have the understanding because he has been actually elevated to have more respect of the game and being in the Hall of Fame and doing things of that nature uh, because of who he is and rightfully deserving of so. But for me, I'm just grinding it out, man. And again, when I see my man, it's all about the good stuff, and we really never talk about the bad stuff.